we're going to practice working with shapes and putting fills and strokes on them, which are putting colors or patterns inside of them, and then also colors or patterns on the outside like an outline. So you need to make sure that you have completed this from last class, you turned it in, and you have watched both the videos on this, and you've done your 3 cubes, and you've marked that done in your end of the modules, and then you'll have access to this. So we're working on Adobe Illustrator Prep number 2. So you're going to click to open that. You will click to download this. You're going to be keeping in mind that you're going to turn this in by the end of today as your exit ticket to be done with class. And you're going to take a screenshot just like we did before, but with your layer panels, make sure that's included. And that is Shift Command 4 to do that. So we'll do that together. All right, and you'll turn it in at this assignment. So if you haven't yet, you're going to open Adobe Illustrator, and you're going to get this exercise sheet open. So I'm going to show you how I did that because I saved this with you guys as a PNG, which does not know it's an AI file. So if you double click, you'll open in preview probably. So when you're in Illustrator, you're going to go to File, Open, or shortcut is Command O. And you're going to go to Downloads, and you should have it pop up. Another thing you can do is search shapes, and there it is, and tell it to open in Illustrator. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my layers panel. You guys can stop and pause this video as you're going to follow along. So if you don't remember where the layers panel is, it's over at the right. These are all panels. We're going to be working with a couple today, but I'm first going to pop up my layers panel. I'm going to double click here and name this shape sheet. You can name it whatever you'd like. And then you see the eyeball? You see a blank square next to it. We're going to click on that blank square and lock it. So now I can't actually do anything to this, which is what we want so that we can do our own work here without having to bother this. And you're going to go down towards the bottom right of your layers panel and click on this little square to the left of the trash can. And when you roll over it says create new layer. That's what we want. I'm going to make, let's see how many shapes we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you're going to make 8 layers with me. And then you're going to double click each one and in order name them. So I'm double clicking, what's the shape called, hitting enter, double clicking. Okay, so just do your best. I'm going to just do a couple more, not all of them. I think you guys get the gist. You'll name all of these layers, okay? So we have that set up. When you are working in a layer, that layer is highlighted. So right now I have my circle layer highlighted. I'll be doing this first. So I'm going to go to my square, tell that I'm in my square layer. So our toolbox lives over to the left. It's something that you can move and float around. And our tools live over by the right side. And when you click to open them, you'll see the shortcut for rectangle is M, and the shortcut for ellipse tool is L. And the others just kind of live in this box. So if you'd like, you can pull them out by clicking, holding down, and going over to this little tab right here. And just keeping that with you because we're going to be working with that today. So you might as well just have it out and around. So I'm going to make sure I'm in my square tool. And I'm going to use this as a little tracer to draw over this. Okay, now I'll show you. This is what you want to do. No problem. Okay. One thing you can know, just going to delete that. If you hold shift while you drag and click, you will make a perfect shape. All right. That will be handy when we get to our circle, for example. So again, I'm just going to go here, just kind of eyeball this. There's my square. Now the directions say create the shape and make sure the shape is selected, and then put a fill and stroke in it. All right. And then do the rest. We can put some patterns. We can even play with some gradients. Okay, so we'll see how far we get. So remember, we've created a shape here. Right now, when I look at it, this is my fill. This is my stroke down at the bottom. I see that the fill is white, so the shape is white, and there is no outline or stroke. Okay, so we want to put something that's going to pop up. So I'm going to make sure I'm in my selection tool at this point, V, or click on the black arrow. You know the shape is selected because the color of the layer, which for this one is red, is highlighted. Okay, and I'm going to go up to the right side of my panels. I'm going to go and grab this third one down. This is called swatches. Bring that out. We will need that. Keep your layers out. If you're ever missing any of these things, a couple things you can do. Go up to the top right and hit Reset Essentials. Another option is go to Window and grab what you need. Layers and swatches. Those are things I have out. Okay, so this is something I've noticed a glitch in for our Adobe Illustrator we have on our computers. We all have the same license, so this sometimes pops up. We have no swatches at all, and this is not right. Sometimes it pops up, sometimes it doesn't. So let me see if there's a quick fix here. No, but what we can do when you're in your swatches, and if you're getting the same thing as me, like this, then you can go down to the left, and there's a little books, the swatch library. So I can get a bunch of different swatches. Like this is one right here. Okay, these are all different little books. So color books will have a bunch, lots of colors. And that way you can just click and drag some of these. Like if I want this purple, I click and drag it over there and I build my swatches for the day. Or you can just click them right from this box. All right, so this is only if your swatches are not populating, like mine are. And this will happen. Like I said, we all have the same license, and it's just something that's been a glitch. Okay, so another way to get your colors is to go over to the fill and stroke and double click. And you can get any color you'd like as long as you select over here in this window. All right, so you can see I made this ultraviolet purple, and because this is selected, it corresponded, right? So up at the top here, it always tells us when our object is selected, what's going on with it, and it tells us our swatches. There are those swatches I loaded. It tells us our stroke. So this is the fill swatch. This is the stroke swatch, the outline. So I want you guys to practice putting some strokes on. So I just assigned a red, and you can see the stroke has a width, 1.8 points, going a lot thicker, 60 points, right? Doing something that's reasonable with your design. There's some basics. You can play with the line design for each. And then usually there's a couple different kinds of ways you can design the line around that. All right, so you could go further if you wanted to. You don't have to play with this one as much. I would play with these guys for sure. So if you do want to play with these, again, there's a little library for this menu. This is the brush menu. And you can play with some borders. Like I want to do some dashed border. And when I select it, you'll see that it corresponds. Make it a little bit thicker so we can see it. And then there we go. Okay. Now the only thing with these is that these correspond based on the colors that they're already assigned. So even though my stroke was red, it's now assigning with this. Okay. Okay. So play with your rectangle. Get a fill, get a stroke. You do not have to do the same thing as me. And I'm going to show you a couple more things. So I'm just going to do a few with you here, and then you guys do the rest. I'm going to do some that are a little bit more tricky. So in your shapes, this is the rectangle. This is the rounded rectangle, which is this, right? This is the ellipse tool, which also makes circles. So let's do this one together. So this one can make an oval. I'm going to make my oval. I'm going to swap over to V. So I have my arrow tool, and I can move this over. I can always resize this, right? Now this is just corresponding with the fill and stroke I already have assigned. So I'm going to, just so I can see, put a none fill, and we can keep the stroke. That's fine for right now. A none fill basically means it's transparent. There's no color, so I can see what's going on behind it. And then once you have the size the way you want it, you can put your fill. Okay, so also your stroke. So now, how do we use the ellipse tool for making a perfect circle? So I'm going to click off that. Oh, you know what? I realized I didn't click on my, put my ellipse in the layer tool. So if you find that you did the same thing, this is how you fix that. In your layers, you open this little layer up, this little triangle, and you'll see there's my rectangle in my square. Here's my ellipse in my square. I need it up there. So this is selected already. If it's not, you click on this little button. You're going to grab this square, and you're just going to drag it up to where it belongs. So I'm telling it, you know what, that was the wrong layer. You actually belong in the ellipse layer. So it is now ellipse layer, yellow corresponding, and close this. So let's do that right. In your, when you get to your other ones, make sure that you select the layer you're on, and then grab the tool you need. So I'm in my circle layer. So I said that you can hold down Shift and make a perfect shape of whatever shape you have chosen. You can also hold down Alt and Shift at the same time and eyeball it from the center, and it will draw from the center. Okay, so again, Alt, Option, and Shift, and draw from the center, and you'll get it perfect proportion. So there's my circle. All right. So I'm going to show you patterns with this one. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool, V on your keyboard, and I'm going to go back to my strokes and my swatches panel, and I want to grab a pattern. So I'm going to go down here to my little library, and I'm going to go down to patterns. We have some basics, you have some decoratives, you have some nature ones like animal skins. So you can play around with some of these. You open those little libraries up, and when you click on them, you'll see what they can do. And they'll tell you as you roll over what they are as well. So I'm going to assign a pattern. I'm going to double click. I grab a stroke color I'd like. Assign the size and the style. When I click off, there's my shape. One little object. Okay, so here's some tricky ones. Let's do the star and the triangle to wrap up for today. Both of these live in the star tool. So I grab my star tool, make sure I'm in my star layer. I hold down Alt and Shift, and I draw from the center. Okay. Another option is to not draw from the center. Looks like that was a bit skinny. And then grab your V, move it over. I'm going to again go and assign my stroke and fill to none, so I can see the object I'm drawing. As long as it's selected, you can see it. Now, I just clicked off it accidentally. Excuse me, I'm going to select that again so I can see. Turn it, resize it so it fits. You don't have to be perfect, but about. Use your arrow keys to make it move up and down. And then go ahead and assign your fills and your strokes. But for this one, I'm going to show you guys a gradient. So for this, I'm going to make sure I'm selected. I'm going to go to my gradient tool, which is down on the right towards the middle, G for gradient. And I'm going to see if we can get our gradients to work for us. Well, let's do this. What I'm going to do to help myself out, because that was giving me a hard time, is I'm going to go down below my stroke and my fill. Make sure my stroke's on top. I'm sorry, my fill's on top, not my stroke. So my stroke is on top. I want my fill. And I just grab this little thing. I activate the gradient button, make sure I'm on my gradient tool, and then I double click. And you'll see this little bar pops up, and it says I'm white from the left to and black to the right. So I can determine how much of that is black or white with this little clicker in the middle. I can rotate this. I can reposition it. and it will correspond and react.